Let's work on the practice exercise for importing geometry. In the first exercise, we want to import geometry. And so we open up our software. I'm going to be running in En-ROADS Select Series 3. And so you can be running En-ROADS, Geopack, or MX Road. First thing you want to do is make sure that you've set your user to examples. Your project should be Bentley Civil Imperial, and your interface is Bentley Civil. This will put us into the correct workspace and give us our standards. So we can be pulling from our feature definitions and element templates and all the other standards that we need. And we want to select the geometry DGN file, so I'll highlight that DGN and hit open. And once we're into this DGN file, you can see we're in a certain workspace here. And I want to import geometry from a file. And so underneath my general geometry drop-down on my civil tools, so underneath my task navigation, you should have civil tools workflow. And under my civil tools, there's a grouping called general geometry. We can select import geometry, and this will allow us to import depending on what software I'm running. I've got it set to show me all files, but depending on what software I'm running, if I'm running En-ROADS, I can only get the ALG. If I'm running MX, I can only get the FIL, and if I was running Geopack, I can only get this GPK. So I want to select the ALG file and hit open. And this dialog box will vary a little bit depending on the software that you're running. And we can see we want to check the box for our alignments. And for the horizontal geometry, you have mountain, highway, and there's profile that you need to select underneath that. And then there's also Pike Road horizontal geometry, and there's a profile underneath that. For the Geopack, you would have mountain, highway, and Pike Road profiles underneath both horizontal, and you need to select the correct one to associate it with the right horizontal. We'll leave the checkbox for Create Civil Rules and hit Import. And then it imports my geometry. We can see that we've got a north-south geometry called Mountain Highway, and then Pike Road runs east-west. They want us to click on Pike Road and zoom in to the left-hand side. And when you select the geometry, you'll notice the handlers that get displayed. Even though I've imported this from another file, it creates those civil rules, and I can actually grab those manipulators, grab those handlers, and move my geometry around. So I'm zoomed in to the left-hand side. In the exercises, they want us to click on the radius manipulator. So I can left-click on the radius value, and I can key in a different radius if I wanted to. So I could type in 4,000 and hit enter, and see that it updates the radius. Geometry immediately updates. I can click on the direction manipulator for the furthest west tangent and change it to a different value. So I could say south 49 degrees east and hit enter, and it changes that as well. If I want to undo any changes, I just hit Control Z on my keyboard, or go to Edit, go to the Edit Undo, and Edit Undo both of those changes that I've just made. And if we zoom in close to the point all the way to the west, we can actually use the handlers here, rotate line, trim and extend, or just grab the point and move it. So grab the one perpendicular, rotate line, and you can see that I'm able to actually change the bearing, it still holds on to the tangent length, but it changes my bearing of that last tangent. I can see how that's changing. Right click to cancel, and then click on the arrow pointed parallel to the geometry. That's my trim extend handler. Click on that arrow and you can see that my tangent length gets longer or shorter as I move my cursor, where the bearing stays the same. Right click and cancel that. And then if you click on the move point, click on that circle, you can actually grab and move this point anywhere I need to. Just as some background information that's not in the training material, if you don't see the handles, it could be that you have handles disabled on your element selection. And also, my handles are a yellow color so that they show up better. And that setting is in my workspace preferences. You can see I think the original color is blue. I made sure that my manipulator size and color were large enough and a bright enough color so that I could share that well when I share my screen. Next, they want us to fit the view and select Pike Road Geometry again and hover over that until your context menu appears. And with the context menu, you can see you've got properties, open profile model, and several other commands. We're going to click on that second button there called open profile model, and then left click in view number 2. And inside of my view number 2, I'm going to just left click anywhere in view number 2. And you can see the profile created on the screen here for Pike Road. So that profile already exists. Next, I'm going to do the same for Mountain Highway. So if I just click on Mountain Highway and hover over that for a second, I get my context menus. I can then click on Open Profile Model and Data Point, select view number 2. So view number 2 is already opened. I'm just going to left click in it, and it updates to show the profile for Mountain Highway. And in your plan view, you can see graphically what geometry you have selected. And then in the profile window, you can actually left click on that and highlight it to show the manipulators and handlers for your vertical geometry, similar to horizontal geometry. If you wanted to create a report for either one of these, you can actually hover over your vertical geometry, and there's a paper clip there for the profile report, or a report for the horizontal as well. So if I have view 1 active and I left click and hover over the horizontal geometry, you can see your horizontal geometry report. Go ahead and select the profile report for Mountain Highway. So left click on your profile, hover over it, and select the profile report. The Bentley report browser appears, displaying the vertical alignment review. So my style sheet is selected by default. You can right click and you can set certain reports as your default. You can look at the report on the right hand side. You can also change your formatting or your precision by going to File, Tools, Format Options. Under Tools, Format Options, you have the ability to change something like the elevation precision. So if I switch my elevation precision to 1 decimal place, you can see how it updates immediately in the background. Right? If it was set to 7 decimal places, you'd see several numbers there. 1 decimal place. You can also change your station precision, make sure That station precision is set to 2 decimal places, and I'm in Imperial, so my format is set up correctly. Close the format options and view your report. There's other reports you can view. I can left click on vertical alignment check integrity style sheet, and you can examine that report. And go ahead and click on any one of these other XSL, any one of these other style sheets to view different formats for your vertical geometry report. And then when you're done with that, you're going to close the report browser.